Instead of trying to change the white man in your mind, make you accept us, we change the mind of the black man and make him accept himself. And as soon as he accepts himself, he'll solve his own problem. He won't be trying to force himself into your factory and into your bedroom and into your kitchen.
With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa 9, like you got in Haiti. So what we're talking about is there has to be education program. That's very important. As a matter of fact, it's so important for us that a person has to go through 6 weeks of our political education before he can consider himself a member of the party, able to even run down ideology for the party. Why? Because if they don't have an education, then they're nowhere. You dig what I'm saying? They're nowhere because they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. You might get people caught up in the emotionless movement. You understand me? You might get them caught up in because they're poor and they want something. And then if they're not educated, they want more. They'll be capitalists, and before you know it, we have Negro imperialists.
Peace and Black Power families, Brother Ajay Taimba from Harlem Liberation School, where we teach black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. The 3-part outline that was prescribed for us by none other than Brother Malcolm X himself. Family, we welcome you to Harlem Liberation School Online. We want to remind you that we want to keep adding on to our subscriber base because it empowers us to do more and reach more people. So if you are watching live on our YouTube channel, please click the subscribe button. Don't share all this don't keep all this goodness to yourself, family. Share this with the family. My grandmother used to say food tastes better when you share it. Right? So let's share this food we're about to get. You know, family, I hear a lot of talk. We're in a generation where there's a lot of talk. There's new language, new words. We got safe spaces, types of stuff going on. Love is one of the words I hear a lot, one of the concepts. But I don't hear and see a lot of people breaking it down. I don't know of a lot of people who've committed their lives to teaching the community about what love is, how to love, what it looks like, how to maintain it, and how to grow it in real ways beyond, poetry and love songs. And the couple I'm about to bring on, I personally consider to be a true power couple in an African-centered way. Not power couple in the sense that they exert power over people and they lord over people, but a power couple in the sense that they empower themselves through knowledge, education, experience, so that they can then empower their community. A real power couple. I love this couple right here, and I do my best to support them and to expose the community to them, because I believe it was Che Guevara that said underneath every revolutionary's intentions, under that work is love. We love the people. We love liberation. And so I'm really happy to bring on the power couple, Sister Nwasha, Brother Montsho, the Edus, who have created Akoma Day. We're going to bring them on right now. We want to make sure you unmute yourselves. And peace and blessings to the family.
Akoma greeting. It's an honor. Yes. It's an honor to be here with you, brother. Always eternal supporters of the Harlem Liberation School and all the work you said that you're doing, that we're doing, I know you're doing. And we all have different branches of the tree, but it's the same work. It's the same
That's
work.
right.
So, we are also watching from afar and admiring and learning and supporting you and the movement, your team, your queen, and your mission in life. So, you know, we just honored to be with you again. We thank you for remembering us at this time all the time. And so it's very important that we spread this message to our people in the diaspora.
Yes, indeed. We happy to. I think this is the second time we had you on.
Absolutely.
Gotta definitely have you on more to spread this message of black love. The way you conceptualize it, you've written books. I mean, you got a whole sort of system and framework built around it, which I find interesting. It's not just a bunch of talk. You really put a lot of work into that. You know, we were talking, Brother Montsho, you were telling me that you would run ragged because you guys are crisscrossing, going here and there, and teaching people about Akoma Day. Before we get into that, I want to ask you all a very basic question. And this question is, how did you meet, both of you? And how long have you been together? I want to start with the basics.
Wow. So yeah, so actually, we've been together 24 years, and we met ironically at a car wash, and so we're from the same town, but we never knew each other, and so we have a 7-year age gap. So she's older than me. I know I'm older than her by 7 years, and so we never knew each other. We didn't go to the same school, but we literally were only like a couple of miles from each other our whole life. Now she moved around a lot. I did not. So she was in our hometown of Trenton, New Jersey. She was in Boston. She was in Newark. She was moving around. She lived in Brazil. She was traveling the world, seeing Africa, doing different things. And I was in the suburb of New Jersey. But there's a place that I washed my car regularly. I went there, and her and her sister had noticed that I had a bunch of I was serious about my whip, so I had like all this cleaning stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's us
they
men.
noticed that I had like a whole roll of paper towels. So they came over together. Well, they came to a certain point, and her sister walked up, got the paper towels, and then she brought them back. And at the time, they looked like twins. And so I asked, are y'all twins? And, but from that moment on, we kind of, it was, she didn't give me a lot of rhythm at first. But then I had a piece of art that was being framed by a good friend of mine. I had a framing store. I had this piece of art from Kenya. And he said, I got your art is ready to pick up, Montsho. I got this young, beautiful sister working at the store. She's going to service you. And when he said her name, I was like, that's that woman. So then from then on, I was on it. Like I knew where she worked. I knew one of her jobs because she had like 3-4 jobs. But I was like, I know this job, so I know where you're going to be at. And from then on, I was like on it every week. And within a couple of months, we've been together ever since. So we have 24 years in. And our whole story is a poem now that includes that meeting day and Akoma Day, our children, and all the things that we've done since. So we perform it when we go to do the Akoma Day presentations, around the country and around the world. So
that's beautiful. Now, Sister Nwasha, I don't know if your husband is anything like me, but when we meet people, I have like 25 different renditions of how we met, jokingly, right? She said, "Oh no, don't tell that story again," Is anything you would add, or is he pretty accurate, or?
No, that is definitely it.
All right.
We were a little unprepared going to the car wash. It was meant to be destiny. So it was a little, we didn't have enough supplies to do the job, but luckily he was the only other car there by the time we got there. So that's how we met.
Yeah. And she, as I say, she was on me. She said,
we were on the paper towel.
You got two, my wife is very tall. So you got these two tall women walking up to you like, You know, my ego, I was like, yo, they on me. They on me.
That's
They was
funny.
like, can we borrow the paper towels? I was like, oh, you still on me though.
Now I want to take a quick pause. I think we have a few comments. I want to air those out, and then we're gonna get back. So we got my queen bee, Brenda. She's saying greetings to the family.
Yes,
She's
yes,
telling everybody, Wukusu, that's our greeting at Harlem Liberation School. Wake up, clean up, stand up.
absolutely.
And she's talking about the 25 different renditions of how we met that I tell people. She says the real story is better than the lies I tell. Okay. All right. Enough of you, young lady. Now let's get back. I'm interested to know, I always like to ask the guests, what led you to this road, this journey of black cultural and political consciousness? Because I find that people enter it in different ways, and I'm very interested by people's unique story.
Well, I think for me, it really was traveling. My mom was a black Muslim. You know, she had a certain kind of foundation for us as a very young child. And then moving from place to place, I lived in Newark. There was a lot of black consciousness in Newark when I was a younger girl, probably like middle school to the beginning of high school. And then in high school, I went to Brazil. And I started to see by traveling internationally that there were some themes being black. And Brazil is one of the places where there's the most black people outside of Africa. So I think that's where I found a black political understanding and a black spiritual understanding outside of Christianity. It was the first time I actually saw some of the Orisha and some of the Bahian women. And I was really fascinated by it. I was about 16 when I went to Brazil, and I thought definitely changed my life. And I also started to realize what it meant to be colonized because I spoke English and then learned Portuguese and Spanish. And I realized that black people are speaking these languages because of a common reason. So then when I met my husband a couple years later, and he was able to introduce me to like that really transformed my life, like Kula. So a lot of the things that I started to do had a black spiritual foundation and a black political foundation. So I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate to have been younger in my adulthood.
Yeah, my journey comes from a lot of trauma. But very similarly, I had moved from a urban setting where my dad moved us and said, you know, hey, you know, where we living at, me and your mom and you and your sister are here. Where we living at, it's not a lot of black families, so we need to move where black families are. So we moved to a suburb. We were fortunate enough to have the opportunity, or unfortunate, however you want to look at it, to move to the suburb, and there were a lot of black families, maybe like 300, 400 families, but they were in the midst of probably 4,000 white families. And so I went from being accepted and loved to being jeered and hated and ridiculed in the late 70s, early 80s. And then I also dealt with my own individual traumas. You know, I was sexually molested, and I had a lot of things that I was fighting. And so my mother, at the time, you know, she was just she had this phase that she went through where she was like really, really into African culture. And so we're in New Jersey, right in the capital of New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, in the center. And we're like 45 minutes north of Philadelphia and about an hour, 20 minutes south of New York City. So we're in between two mega black centers. And my mom, like when I was 14, she was taking us to Odunde and to Harlem Days and the African Street Festival. And it just blew my mind. You know, I just saw these beautiful black people, and I saw all of this cultural demonstration of black culture, and it stuck for me because one of the problems I was having as I began to integrate into predominantly white schools is that I was encountering a lot of European children who knew their ancestry, knew their culture, whether they were Irish, whether they were Dutch, whether they were French, whether they were, Roman Catholic, whatever their spiritual system was, their national heritage, and then their ethnic groups within those nationalities. And I was just embarrassed that I didn't have a knowledge of that. And so at the same time I was beginning to understand I'm really lost was at a time when my mom took off and said, we're going to this festival, we're going to meet this person, we're going to meet, and I was probably probably like 4 or 5 years well in, when my mom came in my room one day and said, I met this woman and I want you to go meet her. And it was Queen Afua. Queen Afua then became my spiritual godmother, and became very central to a lot of the work we do. And and so then it was many different people. I became friends with Khalid and Atra Kwesi and Ishamuka Barachiro, and it's just Infudishi, a group of amazing Black men that molded my life at a time when my father passed away when I was 20 years old and I was looking for manhood guidance. So all of those things centralized for me. So then a few years later, when I met my wife, I was like, look, you're fine. I love you. This is what we're trying to do, but this is the direction I'm going. So let me show you the feminine version of it, because I can't give it to you. Let me take you to Queen Afua. Let me show you where I'm going. And I thought I would be leading her, but I found out quite often that she was also leading me in terms of helping me understand the divine feminine of a lot of things that I was sharing with her. So it's just been a great marriage, literally and figuratively, since then. So that's really it.
All right. Excellent. Those of you watching, we're here at Harlem Liberation School online. You're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. And as well, I believe in the description section of the video you're watching, I put information about how to follow and support the Edus. So make sure that you follow. Check out the Black Love School. Cop their book on Akoma Day. Check out the whole framework that they set up for us. People put in that type of work. The least we can do is investigate and check it out and support it. Now, I know that you both are therapists, if I'm correct. And, when we're young, what do you want to be? Someone, I want to be a police officer, firefighter, football player, dancer. Therapy, we need desperately. I think that's an understatement. I'm curious to know what led you both to become therapists for the community.
I think for me, it was my traumas. Like I said, we moved to that community. I suffered a lot of racial discrimination. I thought some people was trying to kill us. I was 7, 8 years old, sitting in the living room. I thought I saw like firecrackers and stuff. Come to find out, it was Molotov cocktails that were being thrown at our house. And then there was quite a few other incidents where we were getting harassed, and someone spit in the face of my sister. And when we traced the line back to find out who it was the son of the sheriff. So, we had, all of my Black friends were beautiful. I'm still close friends with them today. We all lived in the suburbs, pools in our yard and all of that. But the white folks that we lived around wasn't feeling that. You know what I mean? So it was a while later, before the emergence of hip hop, and then we all got into puberty, where then the white people that was hating us started chasing us for lust and sexual desire. But it was a lot of confusion. Then I had, as I said, sexual molestation in my past, and I was impacted by that. And I watched my parents having a problem. Two great people that weren't having a great relationship. And so I'm a clinical therapist. My wife's a clinical therapist, but my sister is actually a psychologist, and we talk often. And she said, I went into this for the same reason you did. Like, I was trying to deal with my stuff. So that was for my wife, I think she was in international finance, and she had moved around the world, but I kind of snatched her over.
I've been an educator for many years, so my style of therapy is even a humanistic kind of therapy, a person centered. I have believed, and I've always felt this. If you learn something and really embody it, you can make a lot of transformation in your own life and in a very short amount of time. So I think I was going to go into the direction of doing international business and international, even translating, but that side of the politics, I quickly
Mhm.
learned that it wasn't going to be a good environment for me because I felt like it was anti a lot of things that I wanted to actually do. And I felt like if I went into those things, I would probably regret it and probably be conflicted with some of the things that are the actual practices of those larger organizations. So for me, I wanted to help and I wanted to educate. And the kind of therapy that I've primarily done has been in educational centers and definitely has fallen under the category of relationship education. So I think we have complementary styles,
Yeah,
even working together. A lot of the things we offer are coming from two different aspects
yeah,
of the therapeutic process.
yeah,
And that's necessary. Like you said, that's something we could have 20 different entry points for therapy because we have a very unique situation.
Mm.
absolutely.
Well, we are glad that you both entered into therapy. We're glad that you went through your unique journeys to get you to where you are today because we're the beneficiaries of that. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm curious to know. Well, let's get right into the real nitty gritty here. We got Akoma Day is coming up, and could you please, for people who've never heard that, could you please tell us about Akoma Day and maybe what led you to create it?
So this is the Akoma, the symbol that we often miscall the heart. It is an ancient African symbol of divine unity and the sacred science and journey of soulmates. And so the anatomy of the Akoma is that this bottom point is the rooted spirituality. In the spirit realm, the man and the woman are literally one being. They are separated at conception, and then they travel their individual trajectories, and they go through their hump, which is their rites of passage, their right to pass into adulthood, into manhood, into womanhood, and then into nationhood. They reconnect at this point, the point back to the spiritual center as a reminder of where they come from. This symbol is an ancient symbol. Right now, it is under the abeyance of the people in Ghana, West Africa, but it actually is like a lot of symbols. It's so ancient that none of us can really claim it. It actually came with the people, like the Adinkra, like the Medunetta,
Mhm.
like many of our indigenous systems. But I think one day in '97, I was in a restaurant that's very famous in our town, a black-owned restaurant by some Muslim brothers, and they had this big chart and an Adinkra chart. And I said, "Oh man, you got a heart there." And he said, "Nah, brother, go over there and read that. That's not a heart. That's an Akoma." And I said, "Oh, what's an Akoma?" So I went over and read it, and it blew my mind that this had 7 principles. One of them was Nia Akoma, which means to take heart. Europeans were in our homeland and saw it on clothing, and they said, "What is that? It's the heart." They brought it over here as the heart. So for the last like 300 years or so, we've been calling it the heart, but it's actually not a heart. It doesn't even look like the organ that's in your chest, which is more
Right.
looks like this, but it is about a symbol of the sacred science of soul mating. So as we're on these social medias and in books and in all pop culture, we're walking around calling the symbol a heart. So at a time when but it's really in a coma. At a time when I realized that, I really was just starting. I had the benefit of meeting Khalid. My one of my best friends became the national minister in the New Black Panther Party, and so as a result, one of the places where my friends gathered a lot was at my house that me and my roommate at the time had. And so as a result, Khalid was coming back and forth. I got an opportunity to meet Khalid, and I had already had, I was already very fond of him. And so from afar, but we began to develop a really good relationship. And so as a result of that, he was making Janame, and I was telling him, I've been having an idea that I want to do something with this symbol because I've always been focused on love and relationships. And I came up with this concept called the Akoma Day. So I started telling him about it. He was like, this is phenomenal. This is excellent. Do it. So I started one version that was February 14th, and it was one day. That's like 25 years ago. But then 2 years later, I meet my wife. When I shared a concept with her, she was already a scholar, and we did a little bit more research, and she really helped me understand that the festival of Lupercalia that became Valentine's Day is actually based on an ancient African holiday of love and fertility, and it's always in the third week of February, what we're calling February now, because that is the most fertile time on the earth where most people are becoming pregnant. And so because of that, the Africans had a celebration of love. The Greeks and Romans saw that. They developed and co-opted principles from it and developed Lupercalia, which was very misogynistic and crazy. And then Lupercalia eventually became Valentine's Day. So when I got with Nwasha, she helped me take back the whole historical concept. I had a symbolic understanding and a concept, but we put it more into cultural context, and we got 7 days and 7 virtues and 7 principles and 7 symbols, 7 rituals, because 7 is that number of completion. And it just, it's like I tell brothers all the time, like when you give your woman your seed and she takes it and creates new life, I gave her the seed of this idea, and now we have an international holiday that's in 16 countries. So the new version is 23 years old. The old version is 25 years or so old. But I only counted because a couple of people actually celebrated with me and knew about it, and so they spoke about it. But the one that everybody knows is this is the better one. So
And is it? Am I correct in my presumption that it started out as one day, and the Queen maybe made it a longer celebration, right? Is that correct?
No, it was us looking at the Akoma symbol and all that it represents. And it's probably the educator in me felt that piece by piece, some things would be relevant to focus on. And we really appreciate Kwanzaa. So like the idea of taking a virtue and a principle over the course of 7 days, we believe that holidays are meant for a person to recommit to an idea or deepen their embodiment of an idea. So it made sense for us to really take the idea through several days, much like Kwanzaa, and especially for love and renewal of the virtues and the principles that we need to have success in relationships. That's something that you have to revisit and you actually have to concentrate on. And this is a time of a lot of distraction. So I think doing all of that in one day, it's hard to do for the 7 days, especially in that kind of commercial, materialistic society where you really, by today, you're almost already on Easter. So it's hard to focus. So I think that once we really saw all that the Akoma represented, there's something about symbolic language that can speak to many points at the same time. So when you look at an Ankh or you look at a Sankofa, it actually, you're absorbing a lot of information at once because there's the decoding and the embodiment comes at a spiritual mental level, not just like decoding letters. So for that takes some time to sit with.
And we jack up. We need a lot of love. So we stretch it out.
Yes, sir. Nothing wrong with that. I thought it was interesting that you referred to Brother Khalid, who we share as a Jegna, and you talked about how he created a cultural alternative to Thanksgiving.
Janame, absolutely.
Janami, which not enough people, I think, know about or practice. So it might be a good idea at some point to revisit that and to talk about that further down the line. But for those people, because some of our people can get real rigid, on things,
right,
and difficult to let that mind be flexible. Say like, man, you're supposed to love your woman every day.
Right.
Could you help people, or could you help people understand? Yes, you're supposed to express love every day. Could you help them appreciate though the need to have a special time where we commemorate such things as love?
We actually say Akoma Day every day. If you follow the pages, that's what you're going to see is Akoma Day every day. Much like the virtues, the principles of Kwanzaa. You really should be on purpose every day. You really should have faith every day. I think that what's important is for us to understand, especially with Akoma Day and the science of soulmating, that we are the first people to partner, to pair, to love, to have reconnection soulmate story. And when you're oppressed by other people's holidays, you have to really be able to say you're making that recommitment to yourself every day, essentially, but absolutely at our own holidays. So it's important to love every day. I think sometimes if you look at the challenges that we have in love, we are not doing that at the best level. So if you were saying, hey, I'm loving every day and I have virtues and principles and our relationships are amazing, then, you might be able to say, I love my woman every day. But what we really have to look at is how happy we are in relationships. Most people don't feel seen. Most people don't feel appreciated. Most people don't feel loved. And we are not married, right? Even when we get married, we divorce, right? So there's a lot of room there to rediscover what love is and to actually stand on some skills and principles to do the thing that you have in your heart. So there's a difference between I just want to love. I think we actually do want to love. We're the most loving people on the planet. We are the creative concept of human love, community, unity. And at the same time, you're not doing a great job at following through with love and making another person feel loved. So we need to be able to learn what love is. It's not possession, it's not ownership, it's not the things that we've been taught by the dominant culture. So we have to be able to recenter around what we would believe and will believe in the future. And then also we need to have the relationship education on how to get it done.
Yes. Well said, both of you. I'm curious to know for people because it begins on February 14th. Is that right?
Yes. From the
So if
14th.
somebody watching this says, I wanna start celebrating a Coma Day, take us through what you would recommend to them. Are there some products they should buy or read, or how would that go?
They can get an ebook in time.
Yeah, they can get an ebook in time. They wouldn't get the actual Akoma Day book that breaks down everything. This book is 3 books in one. The first part is the state of Black relationships seen through the eyes of teenagers as they begin to take the position of adults. And we see that although they love their parents, they aren't believing in love because of what we're showing. But the second part of the book juxtaposes Valentine's Day and Akoma Day, and it shows you irrefutably why we need to be celebrating love in our cultural paradigm, decolonize and re-Africanize. Third part of the book has over 28 exercises for you to do by yourself, with your loved one, with your family. But yeah, there are 7 virtues, 7 principles. There's an Akoma Day altar with 7 symbols on it, and your activity is based on the virtues and principles. We make a lot of suggestions, but as it has spread to 16 countries around the world, people constantly show us what they're doing with the virtues and principles, and their universal virtues and principles. So people interpret them in their particular way and they celebrate. But we do tell you the basics of what you need for your altar, for the candles, the colors, the symbols, and what they're supposed to represent. And then the 7 virtues and 7 principles guide your activity. And so it is just a celebration of love. And as you said, Ajay, it is important that we celebrate Akoma Day every day. So our fan page is actually called that. But we also, as the most celebratory people in the history of the world, we've lost our customs and our traditions and our mores, as Khalid used to say. So we have to crystallize some of the dynamics in the celebration or commemoration of a holiday. And so we need holidays because every people who love themselves institutionalize that love and crystallize that love in a holiday. And so it's just such a beautiful thing. We brought a lot of artistry and the beauty of African culture to this. We didn't want it to just be political and spiritual and concept. We wanted it to be beautiful. And so we really we focus on the three E's that we call effective, efficient, and elegant. You
All
know, and
right now.
the elegance is the beauty of African culture because we're kind of displaced. We're seeing some of the concepts, we're hearing some of the concepts, and we're hearing some of the history, but we don't see the majesty and the beauty of how so many people have taken our symbols of love, our poems, our terms, and we have no idea that these things come from us and are still over there in our native land that we can travel and visit and see and understand that that grand structure is not called a pyramid. That's a Greek word that means house of fire. It's called a mur, which means a house of love. Myrrh is love. And so when we start to understand this, that the first poems in the labyrinth that we see over there was designed by a man to show his love for his woman. And just it's just so many things. It's like over 3,000 words that we know of to signify love. Why are we saying romantic when the Romans are the oppressors of our people? Like we're really lost. And so we have to understand that we brought the swag to this, we brought the style to this, we brought the beauty to this that the whole world is using. So we put Akoma Day back in proper context, and it has taken off, and we're so honored. You know, we've seen it spread around the world, and it's probably like 50, 60,000 people, which ain't a lot of people, but when you're in 16 countries, it's kind of spread out. And now we get stuff from Africa, and you know, just people are just like, man, we need this. It's universal. It's universal. What would happen if all 1,000,000,000 Black people were celebrating love mentally, spiritually, and physically, emotionally, psychologically for a week every year, and then we utilize that to be the fuel or the gas that would move us through our other political, spiritual, and cultural endeavors. That would be dope, and
That would be powerful.
that's what we're striving for.
So I know so many of us are so married, pardon the pun, right? But we're so married to European cultural manifestations and expressions. So everybody's like, they know Valentine's Day. And I know that some of the issues with Valentine's Day is people may not have the funds to get the biggest heart of chocolates and the biggest furry teddy bear and the 3-foot card, and they feel bad. They feel like, wow, I've been trying to be loving throughout the year, but I can't do that, right? Could you help people watching understand, in the same way that people juxtapose, let's say, Christmas and Kwanzaa, how would you juxtapose Akoma Day to Valentine's Day in the ways that it's different?
I would say most people don't know Valentine's Day. Most people get introduced to it when they're very young, and they know a fragment, like maybe they recognize Cupid, or maybe they know the term Valentine's Day, but they really don't know that much about the story. They really don't know that much about Cupid. They don't know that much about the chocolate industry or any of those things. For us, the most important thing, and we juxtapose all the time because we're doing education, Valentine's Day is not a holiday about love, actually. In the first
Mm,
Australia, it was about orgies, it was about assault
mm,
of women, right? So men could choose women that they wanted for the night or for marriage. They also were, the Romans had their story of Romulus and Remus. So they had a wolf story in their, I guess, mythology.
Yeah.
So they actually cut up pieces of flesh to beat women. in order to increase fertility at this time, which we all know that that doesn't increase fertility, right? So some of the things that were happening, it's actually ironic today that Valentine's Day is considered a woman's holiday, because a lot of the things that its origin is coming from, women would not appreciate or support today. I think this is why it's so important to celebrate something that has higher virtues and actual principles. Because as Masha was saying, once you have a virtue and a principle, so if you know on the very first day you want to do something about flexibility as a virtue, you're saying how can you be flexible in your relationship? So that could be instead of the 3-foot card, you just have the 5-inch card that's being flexible, right? I think it's really important for us to know that we have to demonstrate love and have it be on our mind, and we need to be able to have deeper shows of love. As counselors, people break up before Valentine's Day because of the things that you're talking about. People also break up after this because their expectation was not met. So we have a lot of challenges when we think that it's going to be a performance. Love is not a performance. Sex is not a performance. We actually have to connect with each other. And you could be listening to someone all year, however long you've known them, and honor things that are true to human interaction. This is why, even when it comes to you and your children, or you and your neighbors, and you and your community, or what we all need in these organizations that we need more actual relating and understanding. So when it comes to certain virtues and principles, anyone can do anything for that. And Black people spend a lot of money. So I'm not, when you decide whatever you're going to do, for love, all you're doing is changing where you're spending the money and buying Black and having different Black experiences. So I think that if you concentrate on something, you'll have a couple of the dollars that you need in order to do the thing that is the gesture that you want. And you also can know that some things are about effort. The things that we remember the most rarely have a price tag to it when
That's
we're at the
right.
end of our lives, or when we're really reconciling a relationship, if it was good or not. Rarely are we saying this relationship is good because somebody bought me something. So I think we have to reframe what we know to be the gestures of love. Even when it comes to marriages, you know, we mentioned that in the accommodating book that the average person, and this is the average across the United States, not just Black people, the average person is going to spend $30,000-$40,000 on a wedding. That number only went down because of COVID and quarantine, when people went more simply because they just wanted to be married. So before 2020, people were spending $30,000-$40,000 on a ceremony about love, but did not invest in counseling, did not invest in continuing learning about love, did not invest on their actual marriage beyond the wedding day. So it's really important for us to reframe what money is, what effort is, what our output is, and make sure that it has best intention and not just stamp of approval from other people, because this is how both people get their expectations put out and then their feelings hurt.
And from my perspective, I'm trying to kill Valentine's. I'm trying to kill it because it's evil, and the skin that they used to beat those women was called February, and that's where we get the month February from. Cupid had two bows. One was golden. I mean, two arrows. One was golden. The other one was pewter. And when Cupid appeared, people would run because the golden arrow could make you, quote unquote, fall in love. We don't use that term. We rise in love. We stand in love. We build in love in African culture. But falling in love was helpless because Cupid could make you fall in love with somebody and have a perverse relationship, even with your own child. He also had one that
That's
could
those
make
freaky Europeans, man.
he also had another one that could make you hate your own wife. So Cupid had a mischievous component to him. So when he would appear, people would run in fear, and it evolved into the Casper the Friendly Ghost. That when I was coming up, the little cherubim boy that is friendly to some but scary to others. And so, we don't give cut flowers in Akoma Day. We give potted plants. We love calla lilies, right? That's our favorite family flower. You can give a potted calla lily will go through the cycle of life and then regerminate over and over again to show the cycles of love. Sometimes we up, sometimes we down, but we still alive. When you
That's
give
right.
somebody fresh cut flowers, which is $1 billion industry that is designed just for Valentine's Day, you're actually giving them dead flowers. They smell pretty, but they're actually dead. They're not alive. They're
Mm.
decaying in your face. And so everything is ass backwards when you follow the people who are last and unholistic in their approach to everything. So everything we do, from the gifts, we say buy black. And we say you don't have to buy on the first day, you don't have to buy on the last day, you don't have to buy every day. You don't have to spend a lot of money. That's why we do the love rituals, because we want you to actually do love and make love metaphorically and literally,
And
instead of,
literally now.
yeah, we can't forget that. Instead of trying to purchase love and to try to showcase love, it's okay to give gestures. It's okay to give tokens. We had somebody buy a car for somebody for Akoma Day. Hey, if
Wow.
you was going to buy a car anyway, like
So
yeah,
true. Anyway, Black
yeah,
people in the Americas spend more than some whole nation. So, as
right,
a fragment of this nation, we're spending more, just us, at the 13 to 15%, more than some whole nation. So,
right,
sometimes we make a complaint that's irrelevant, that what we call in our industry is a safe problem to have. The major problem is, can you communicate? Can you get along? The safe
Mm.
problem is, I can't find the, 3-foot card. That's
right,
a fake created problem to distract you from the real thing of, does the person
right.
that you're in a relationship with believe that you love them?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, so we do that, and we make it plain in a lot of areas. Billions of dollars being wasted. Valentine's Day annually is up in the 20 billions. It's the
Mm.
second most expensive holiday in American culture. And then we give you some history on St. Valentine's, because it was a lot of them, and even why they created the Roman Catholic Church when they took Lupercalia and said, this is so savage, the women are getting raped or whatever. They attempted to sanitize it. And so they put a saint, an artificial saint on it, Saint Valentine's. And people act like it has like a holy or religious connotation, but it's just some white people mess that they done put together and made up and
And
force fed
blended
to
a
the
lot of
world.
stories
They
together.
blended a lot of stories to create this holiday. Yeah. So we're juxtaposing African center, and it is in alignment with the ancestors, with classical African culture. It is indigenous. It is being accepted by I think the most proud thing for us is traditional shamans and others are embracing accommodate and letting us know that it is in divine order with our legacy. So it's not a corny attempt to try to chocolate cover paint Valentine's
Right.
Day. It is to reestablish, hey, Lupercalia jacked this from us. Then Lupercalia became Valentine's Day. So we taking back what's ours. This symbol is ours. The pinnacle expression of love is ours. So this is our stuff. You know what I mean?
That's right.
We want to put it back in its proper context and perspective. So that's what we do.
Do you both ever find that because of the fact that you're therapists, you're African centered therapists, you've created this cultural alternative of Valentine's Day. Do you ever feel this internal pressure to be perfect in your own marriage or relationship, to live
Hell
up to
no.
some standard?
Hell no. Matter of fact, when we first I had a client calling me like a couple of weeks ago on my personal line. Bro, I need you. It's 911. I said, listen, brother, we don't do 911 calls, first of all. And secondly, you interrupted me. I'm having an argument with my wife. Like, cut it out. But when we first started out, just the Akoma House Initiative, I told Nwasha that Black people are the most traumatized people especially in the Western world, in the history of the world. So we really need to show them that we mean what we're saying. So we took our lowest moment in our relationship and we put that out to the world. So we brought a story about how when the first week that we got married, we planned to divorce, and then it turned into us being at war, and then we both sought other people. That story became something that we became very known for, and we went on, the reality TV and the Oprah Winfrey Network covered our story. So 13 to 14, 15 million people have seen it, and it actually,
Wow.
ironically, began to become the beginnings of our national fame, where we were striving to push Akoma Day, but then our lowest moment was all these magazines and newspapers and TV shows were calling us, hey, can we cover your story? Once it goes to Oprah, everybody wants a piece of it back in that day. So, no, what we're striving to let people know, the 7 virtues of Akoma Day are flexibility, patience,
Mm.
faithfulness, consistency, endurance, fondness and goodwill, and finally forgiveness. That's what you got to actually have as virtue to operate the relationship. And then once you come together, the 7 principles are unified purpose. You got to know what you're doing. Unified labor, because it's work to be in love. You got to work. Then you have unified transformation. You change together. Back in the day, they say, "Oh, we know y'all together because y'all starting to look alike." You start to transform together. And then, yeah, when we start looking alike, that's gonna be rich. But then you have unified fruit, which represents the payment for the reciprocity of your labor. And it also represents our children, just like in Kwanzaa, the Mazal Wa Akoma. And then you have unified mind, unified body, and unified spirit. And so those are the 7 virtues and 7 principles. And the 7 symbols on the altar represent the 7 principles. But we ain't trying to be perfect at all. We're not even in that headspace
I
at all.
actually think that when you study something like psychology and you work with a lot of people, this is what I have found. It neutralizes some things because you constantly have to teach about expectations, you constantly have to teach about behavior. So some things that may have shifted after a season, they kind of get neutralized. You don't take things as personal, even though we're in a person. I think part of training helps us detach also. This is a healthy where we can say, this is how you are. And it's not all of you, right? And I think that's something that we would learn through rite of passage. If we had impact culture, we would actually learn about men as women, learn about women as men, and learn to appreciate the what's complementary instead of being really attracted and then having so much conflict because of our differences. So I think our training and definitely our rites of passage and cultural training has helped us put things into perspective that there's no pretense about being deified on a pedestal. We say that we are on the ground with everybody and that there's it's through a relationship that you're going to actually achieve character perfection.
Mm.
All imperfect until we can
Yeah.
actually get feedback from someone else to make changes on the path to perfection. But we're coming from a cultural belief that you're not perfected until you make your transition to being an ancestor. So there's no pretense about being perfect. We would never even believe that personally, let alone put that out for someone else. We believe that we're all striving for perfection and that the best way to get it is through the accountability of interacting with someone else.
And this has been very, as always. I've seen you on some other interviews and talked with you myself. Very enriching conversation. I'm curious to know what are some of the base qualities you would think are important when our young sons, our daughters, our nieces and nephews and cousins, they looking for that dude. They looking for that sister. How? What are some of the things we would encourage them to look for besides she bad,
Right. That's an
he's
excellent question.
paid?
That's an excellent question because every year, Akoma Day also has a theme every year. And this year we're on love skills because we say this. We all can look for characteristics. We all can feel emotions. That's the gas in the car. But what is happening for us is good for us to be gassed up. But then we got to know how to drive. We got to understand the street signs. We got to understand the other drivers. We got to understand when to accelerate, decelerate, merge, etc. We need skills because all two people, all the relationships that fail that come together at one point in time, they actually loved each other. They were gassed up. That's why they came together. But what happens often is it's not so much that a person didn't have characteristics because we all have 144,000 aspects of God as characteristics. And they're orientated differently because of our personality, and they develop differently because of our lives and our relationships. But we all have access to them all. So they are important. But what is most important is that we have skills. And we have codified many relationship skills down to 7 skills that you must have in order to be successful in relationship. And number 1 is life and love purpose. You have to understand why you're here and why you're with the person you're with. What is the purpose of that relationship? And it's got to be bigger than just your individual gratification and, you know, a hedonistic pleasure, right? So that's part of it, but it's got to be greater than that. So then number 2, we got to have conscious courting. If you're single, that's selecting, vetting, and committing to a mate. But if you're mated, that is keeping that community around you to give you distinction and perspective about the life cycle of your relationship. Number 3, you got to have 3D communication. The 3 dimensions are thoughts, feelings is 1 dimension. The bridge of understanding is the 2nd dimension. And then the 3rd one is unified action. We can measure our understanding by what we do or by what we don't do. Number 4, you got to have the harmonizing of styles. Men and women are not alike. We're complements like a key and a lock. We complete. We're not opposites like night and day, but we got to be able to balance because in general, men are not like women. But then in specific, Montsho is not like Nwasha. I come from a different family set. I'm the youngest. She comes from a different family set. She's the oldest. And so, and then I'm older than her. So there is a lot of things that we have to harmonize. Then 5 is intimacy and sex. It is emotional vulnerability that creates intimacy, and it's intimacy that creates mind-blowing sex. Not sex and intimacy, but intimacy and sex. Number 6, we have to be able to resolve conflict. Every couple has conflict 7 to 10 times a week, from the littlest things like I don't want to eat what you want to eat tonight to big things like I don't like your mom, you know.
Right.
So we got to be able to resolve conflicts systematically. So we have to be able to ascertain, oh wait, we're in a conflict. Let's pull out our conflict. Like we teach a skill called race out of conflict, how we can get out of this conflict very quickly. And then number 7, and finally, we got to have a power couple love legacy that will benefit the group and represent a divine unified purpose of what our love life is like, because all relationships end, or I should say at least appropriately spiritually, they change. We won't be together forever in the physical realm. One of us may ascend and go to the spiritual realm, or eventually that will happen for both of us, or we may break up for whatever reason. So knowing that, we should approach it with a certain level of urgency and trepidation so that we like, yo, let's make this thing be the best it can possibly be today. And so
how would you refer to that, Brother Montsho? What would you call that one?
That's power couple love legacy.
Power couple love legacy.
Yeah, everybody wants to be a power couple, but you got to have a love legacy. So we teach those 7 skills under 3 pillars. Psychological reparation, number 1, because we got to heal our individual and collective ma'afas. Relationship education, because healing is not it. It's not enough. Once we heal, then we got to have the art and science, or the why and the how, or the masculine and feminine. So we need relationship education. And then finally, the 3rd pillar of our work is cultural education, cultural initiation that unlocks that God force that's in you that can like move your love almost on automatic pilot. And that's what some of the rituals do. They speak to the unconscious mind that sits under the subconscious mind that sits under the conscious mind. So those three pillars, those seven skills, and then after that, let all the characteristics come out. Be everything. Be all you could be.
That's right. Now, unfortunately, our time is up. We
Appreciate
have to get you guys back
it. Absolutely.
because this is information that has a lot of layers to it, obviously.
Absolutely.
And we want people to really understand the nuances of what you bring and how we can internalize it, understand it, and operationalize it all at the same time. I am interested to know, could you share one of your, and you also get the book. Let's just say that. I think the Akoma book is on Amazon. They can get it
Uh-huh.
from you personally, I guess.
Yes. Yes, we have a bit.ly link that is a Coma Day book. I'm putting it in here right now. You can get it, and we mail them out. We do have a publishing deal with Red Sea Press and Africa World Press. You can also get it from them. But we have a couple hundred of them as well. So you can always get them from us. We getting tired of shipping them around the world though. So I'm thinking about going to another venue so I don't have to mail them. But we got accommodate kits. We got it all, bro. We got
Mm.
greeting cards that we've been working on with different artisans. We have there's a whole line of products that you can check out. We have these things called pocket rituals that deal with earth, air, fire, and water, and they are what you can use during the coma day and for the rest of the year to actually communicate. We show you 7 rituals to communicate more deeply without even saying words. So yeah, we got
Now
we
you
got
know we have a nephew here put a comment. He says, "Inspiring elders here. The wife and I have tapped into several videos of you both, and
oh
they do
wow.
help. So
All
someone in the
right.
community is bearing witness, and that's a
All
beautiful
right.
thing. Thanks for that,
Give
Neff."
thanks. Give thanks. Come on to the Black
Oh,
Love School.
did we miss a question about senior couples?
Oh, absolutely. We have in the Black Love School right now, which is our International Relationship Academy, one of our premier couples. We have a couple of couples that are over 70, but one of our premier couples is 71. They're both 71 and they've been married 48 years. And so in the Black Love
Wow.
School, it's the International Relationship Academy for singles and couples. And we're in 11 countries around the world in that. And so all of our work is we come together every 2 weeks, but we have 4 semesters: the heat of love, which is intimacy and sex; the spring into love, which is new relationships and how to bring new energy into established ones; the culture of love in the fall. I mean, the harvest of love in the fall, which is our friends, family, and how they impact the intimate relationship. And then right now we're in the culture of love, which is high spiritual science and the intimate relationship. So we have a Coma Day, we have the Black Love School, and we have our counseling, and we have gender specific rites of passage. So we have quite a few right now in the Coma King. I got 2 men that are over 70, and my youngest brothers are 24. So yeah,
Wow, that's really
yeah,
intergenerational.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Nice, nice, nice. Listen, we gotta have you back. We thank you. We thank you for the work you're doing, for the
Thank
thought.
you.
You know, a lot of times in our community we get real. You gotta do. Now you gotta think first.
Right.
Somebody had to sit down and think this out, right?
Yes.
And plan it. So we thank you for your thought. We thank you for the work. Um, we thank the Jegnas, the mighty Jegnas, the Babas, the Nanas that taught you both, that got y'all on the right path, and we're the beneficiaries of that. Want to shout out Brother Khalid. You mentioned the brothers in there. I got to shout out Brother Khalid.
Yes,
And
man.
we just thank you all for being who you are. And at some point, we need to have a nice double date. We gonna
Oh,
set
we've
that
been
up, Queen.
talking
Okay?
about it. We
We
need
gonna
that.
set that up real nice.
Got to do that. Well,
That'll be
outside
hot.
all of our other endeavors, what is important for us as we move into leadership, as we pass the baton from our Jegnas, Khalid used to tell me all the time, you have to know who your super friend allies are. And you don't got to do we or you don't got to do a lot of talking. Just hang out, go to a park, unwind, catch a movie, do something that strengthens your bond, because it is important when we're out here doing this work that we know that there are ALItes throughout the map, and we got to access them for our refueling. because
That's right.
we give so much fuel out. So we've been talking about that for like a year. We got to get, and as Khalid would say, y'all in Harlem, y'all right up the street. So we just got to
Right,
get
right,
there
right.
and make it
Yes,
happen. Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. So let's do that. Let's do that. This
No doubt.
summer is out this year. We're gonna work it out.
Let's do it. That's
All
what's
right.
up. So we want to thank you both for joining us. We're going to get ready to sign off. We want to thank you all for joining us. We want to encourage you to look them up. They're online. You can get the book. We put the link up. Let me see if I can find that. I think it's right here.
Absolutely.
Somehow the time got stamped in there. That's my bad. But it's the bit.ly link. Akoma Day book.
Yep.
All right. And thank you all again. Have a wonderful evening.
Yes, sir.
I would love, if I was a comedian, I would love to hear an argument with y'all. Excuse me, the third principle of Akoma Day states.
Hey, listen, if you love to hear it, call us back next week. For sure.
Oh, no, you didn't violate the third principle. What's wrong with you?
We'll record the one we had later on today.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I'm just teasing. Family, want to thank you all for joining us, family watching. Please keep tuning in. Let's make this channel large so we can hit more people. And let's, I want to make sure you're having are you having an online event Wednesday?
Yes, we're doing it. We're picking up the virtual, so we've been moving around the colleges and temples and bookstores, and that kind of slows down. We usually do an annual event in our town, but this year we're going all virtual, so we got some guests and some other things we'll be sharing. But we'll be on Akoma Day every day, probably 7 to 10 times a day, every day of Akoma Day, to kind of lay it out for people to watch. And we got a lot of stuff from around the world that people can partake in. So just lock into the Akoma Day Everyday channel starting February 14th, this Wednesday, and you're going to see it all. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I signed up for Wednesday for one of the particular events. But family, check them out on Facebook, Akoma Day Every Day. They have a group. They have events coming up. You can sign up. You can register. You can get in touch with them through Facebook. We have the link we put up for their book. There's no reason why you can't find them and reach them. Yeah. All right. Thank you all again. Peace and Black Power.
We will talk.
Yes,
soon.
yes.
Black Power. Wukusu,
that's right.
Wukusu. Black
yes,
love.
sir. Wukusu. And family, thank you all. Thank you all. And you know what they're doing, they're modeling what we can do. If you're sitting home and you talk, we're traumatized as a people, we need to find out more about our history, our roots. Get involved. Create something that facilitates that. Right? That's what they did. They took their respective career paths. They saw an issue they wanted to highlight, and they got involved. They created a holiday. You may not do that, but certainly you can find a way to facilitate whatever problem you see and solution you see, you can find a way to facilitate it. With that said, family, peace and Black Power. And remember, if we organize, study, and we're authentic to ourselves, I got 3 words. We will win. Peace. Thank you.